Well, you talked about
But
Nigeria. You
yeah,
brought
yeah.
up the Falcons, and I was up early this morning watching that game, well, that match,
Mhm.
and I was just like, I want to see, and they got the draw. I don't want to minimize that because like sometimes it's like, oh, they just
Right,
got a draw. Like it
right.
solidified their spot. Shout out to Australia, who's just been incredible. But
Dominant. 4-0. Wow.
yeah, but Nigeria, they did what they had to do. They had some chances.
They
Chances.
did.
They dominated time of possession. They probably should have gotten a goal. They didn't. But to me, I walk out of that feeling good if I'm Nigeria. They
Yeah,
got what they needed to. They are in the round of 16, and you should feel good about what you did leaving that match. So
for
shout
sure.
out to Nigeria. I'm so happy for them, so proud of them, and just look forward to see how they continue throughout the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, big shout out to Chiamaka Nnadozie, their goalkeeper. I mean, remarkable performance. You can tell Ireland, they were already out, right? They were down and out for the count. They knew they weren't going to advance, but this was their last game before they bowed out of the World Cup. So they had to show up, and they did. They brought every single level of force that you would expect them to show up in. And their goalkeeper was phenomenal, but Chiamaka, my God, that last goal where she punched it out of the air, I mean, stupendous. That's all you can ask for is that level of effort. And yes, I'm sure Asisat Ashwola is like kicking herself at the two wide left shots that she had.
Yeah.
And then there was that one headbutter that they should have gotten too. But they showed up, they did what they were supposed to do, and they're advancing. And all you can do is control the controllables. Next game, move on. It's kill or be killed. So shout out to the Super Falcons. They are flying into the knockout round. Hopefully they'll get a little bit further. It's exciting to cheer for them. So I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun too. And I want to talk about Jamaica, but before we do, it's just, we're talking about these teams and we're saying, like upsets and the parity and all of this stuff. And I don't know, I start to take a look at those rankings. I don't know. They're looking sort of funny in the light. Kind of stuff. I mean, they're looking kind of silly. They really are. And, I get that with anything, with any formula, it can be flawed, but I think there's major flaws, right? And I think that FIFA maybe needs to rethink how they do this because while I do think that teams like the USA are obviously better, I don't think that teams like Nigeria are actually 40th and that Jamaica is actually 43rd. That's what I'm saying. And so while I do think what they're doing is still impressive, I don't think they're quite the underdogs that people are saying they are, or not for their ability and their talent on the field. Now, financially, funding, there may be other reasons why they're huge underdogs, but I'm just talking straight talent and capabilities on the field, and that's why.
We see this a lot, when we think about the NCAA Cinderella stories, right? It's these schools that probably don't have the same level of funding and resources that these Power 5 conferences do. And when they come up in the ranks of the March Madness tournament, you're kind of like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then you have the likes of, a Ja Morant on Murray State, right? Like you have amazing players that just aren't on the visible platforms that these other teams are on. And I think it's important to take a step back too on the ranking situation, because you are absolutely right. I love your quote that's, the rankings are a little sus. And, if you're not watching football or you're not watching soccer, you're not really understanding how this works. Let's break it down real quick. In order to be ranked, a team has to play 5 games. And those games and how they're evaluated within the FIFA ranking system is ultimately based on, who your competition is and who's, if they're like a big time team, if they're also highly ranked or if they're lowly ranked, how important the game is, if you're the home or the away team, and then the differential in the rankings between both sides, right? Now, the more of those games you play, the more you help yourself because essentially you gain points. It's called an ELO ranking. It's something I just learned myself. But it's essentially an ELO ranking where you're looking at this criteria. You have an average rating, let's say 1,300, that's on average. Based on who you're playing, if they're a higher team or if they're a lower team, there is an expected way that you are supposed to end up on this against this team. So if you're a home team and you're playing a smaller team, you're probably expected to win, and you'll get points associated on how you actually performed in comparison to what you were expected to perform. It's so confusing. The math is like very strange and it's very subjective, right? Like in terms of who do you think is an important matchup? Who do you think is a higher ranking versus a lower ranking? But that ELO ranking is what people are having to fight against is here's the average. And based on who I play and how many times I get to play different people, that's the only way to acquire points. And that's the only way to go up and down in the rankings. Now they're fair. FIFA is fair in saying that, we're not going to give you a lot of points if you beat a small country. And we're not going to, if you're a bigger country, doing that. And if you're a small country playing a super team, yeah, you're definitely going to get a lot of points for that. So they are fair in that regard. But if you're under-resourced and you're not getting to these friendlies and you're not getting to these international competitions, you're not going to be able to, help your ranking. The only positive is that
Jamaica. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right, exactly. No, but but what's interesting is that you can go up and down throughout the year. They update these rankings 4 times a year. So you can go up and down. It can vary pretty greatly, but the ones that sit on the top have notoriously been the US and Germany, who just got kicked out. So it is possible, like you said, that these teams are underranked, but over-talented, if that's a word. They have more talent than their rankings suggest.
Exactly. And a team like Jamaica, who we've heard so much about how poorly underfunded they are, they had to, fundraise, to even get here. And they have so many issues with the JFF. And so they've had so many issues. They can't get to friendlies. They can't perform the requisite number of matches. So not only does that just help you, right, get better, right, because you're playing more, right, but also it doesn't help with their ranking. And so, they're not moving up in rank. And so that's why I really wanted people to understand, because like when we talked about Nigeria after their huge, win, right? Like all the comments, people in our comments were just like, please. They were in the comments going off about how great Nigeria is and all of their stats. And I was like, this is a really important point though to make. And the same applies to like a country like Jamaica, who has even less accolades and achievements than Nigeria, but also in a situation where they are underfunded and their ranking is probably not correct. So I just want to give a shout out to the Reggae Girls. They were missing their best player. They were missing their best player, Bunny Shaw. She had to watch in a questionable, red card that some people would say. It was an accumulation of yellow cards, but some people think that second one was a little fugazi. So anyway, she's watching her team compete without her, right? And they sort of struggled throughout the match, but like you saw their momentum building. Again, their defense is excellent. They kept building momentum, it sort of leveled them a little bit with Panama by not having, a Khadijah with playing with them. But at the end of the day, they got their goal, their first ever goal, and shout out to Allison Swaby. And I just love all the stories of these players who are US born or raised here in the US, but their parents are Jamaican or Nigerian. Like a lot of the teams have players like that playing, and I can relate because that's just like me, and it's like you go and you still play because like you feel connected and that's your country. And so I love that they're representing Jamaica. And so it's so cool. One of the sisters, captain of the team out of Connecticut, so very near to me. And, look at that. Scores her a goal for Jamaica. So incredible. Shout out to the Reggae Girls. And they have a chance. They do. It's like it's legitimate, bona fide, and to potentially knock out Brazil. This is, this is going to be a match.
It'll be huge. It will be huge. And what's exciting, I think this is probably why there's so much buzz around this, or so much excitement around this, is the fact that, you know, this is the first time that they've expanded, right, to 32 teams. And as a result of that expansion, we're starting to see these sorts of teams, right? The Jamaicas of the world that are full of talent that just needed an opportunity to get to this platform. And so we're seeing the Jamaicas of the world, the Philippines of the world, the Panamas of the world, like all Haiti even, right? Yeah. Showing up and showing out, having a great time, but also making sure people know, oh, there's tons of talent. We just haven't been able to get here yet. And now that we're here, we're going to make sure we dig our feet in deep and make sure that people know that we left our mark. And so Brazil, I mean, you think about that, you think about Marta, and you think about their level of history within this sport on both the men and women's side, but especially on how many women's soccer players do you know that just go by one name,
I know.
right? Like, it's very rare, so it's the GOAT.
One of the GOATs.
And so it's one of the GOATs. Yes, exactly. So it'll be fun regardless cheering for this game and this matchup just because of the history there. But really, like, Jamaica, yes, wait to show up. Like, this is awesome. I'm excited. It's
going to be a fierce battle. Of course, I'm rooting for Jamaica, and I'm hoping they get that win. And I hope they can get to the group of 16. So it's going to be great. I'm really enjoying the Women's World Cup. I hope you guys are too. And if you're not, check it out. I'm telling you, we're talking about these teams for a reason. It's incredible. The athleticism, the talent, the passion, the emotion. It's been an incredible journey to watch. And, you know, you're depriving yourself. If you're a sports fan, you're depriving yourself by not watching it. So and check out the Women's World Cup.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.